thanks for joining us. Today we are going to be talking about the incredibly controversial life of Aaron Burr. Throughout this presentation, we will try and highlight the most important parts of Burr's life. Due to budget cuts, some of the scenes you may see are not going to be 100% accurate.
Aaron Burr was born in Newark, New Jersey in 1756. His father was a respected reverend who was the minister and second president of Princeton University. His family was incredibly religious, and his father had high hopes of Burr becoming a reverend as well. Unfortunately, both his mother and father died in 1756, making him and his sister orphans. They were raised by their uncle, who had tried to make the children religious to no avail. Aaron was not interested in religion. At the age of 13, he enrolled in Princeton University, receiving his Bachelor of Arts in 3 years. He then decided to move to Connecticut to study law. While attending classes in 1775, Burr put his studies on hold to enlist in the Continental Army. As a Revolutionary soldier, Burr joined Benedict Arnold's men in their expedition to Quebec. By the spring of 1776, Burr had achieved the rank of major and was appointed to serve under George Washington at his home in New York. Due to alleged disagreements with Washington, he eventually transferred to the staff of General Israel Putnam, under whom he fulfilled an array of posts until he retired from his commission in 1779.
Aaron Burr, he could be considered an incredibly charismatic young lad. Upon completing his term in the army, he would oftentimes embark on adventures in the outdoors, go on hikes, things like that, even while studying law at the same time. He was also incredibly interested in women. Like, he loved women, and women loved him. When you're telling stories about how you've traveled with General George Washington and things of that nature, it's just that really sucks in the women really well. It's a really good tactic, actually. And he was incredibly successful. He was a very approachable guy. He would always, he would always seem very friendly to everybody that he encountered. That's one of the reasons why he was very good in politics. And this is also one of the reasons why there are so many descendants of Aaron Burr. He would constantly be having intercourse with women. Yes. Some could, in today's terms, call him quite the player.
In 1782, upon completing his law studies, Burr married a widow named Theodosia Prevost from Philadelphia. 1 year later, Theodosia gave birth to the couple's only child to survive to adulthood. Sadly, his wife died in 1794, and his daughter would be killed in a shipwreck at the age of 29. Burr did not remarry until he was 77 years old. Burr became a licensed attorney and was admitted into the bar in 1782. After opening a successful private practice in Albany, New York, Burr moved to New York City, where he would spend the next 6 years practicing law, until being appointed Attorney General of New York in 1789. 2 years into his term, Burr beat General Philip Schuyler, Alexander Hamilton's father-in-law, for a seat in the U.S. Senate. This marked the onset of an ongoing rivalry between Burr and Hamilton. After 6 years in the Senate, Burr lost re-election to Schuyler. Bitter about the loss, Burr blamed Hamilton for ruining his reputation and turning voters against him. In the year 1800, Burr ran for the U.S. presidency with Thomas Jefferson. 73... 79. Turns out that in a strange turn of events, both Mrs. Burr and Jefferson have received 73 electoral votes, meaning that they have won the election.
Yes! Wait, but who becomes president?
Well, me, of course, but you can be vice president.
But we got the same number of votes. And?
Well, I have just as much right to be president as you do.
Seriously?
Members of the House of Representatives were left to determine the winner. After 35 ties in the House of Reps, Hamilton saved Jefferson's presidency on the 36th ballot. 70, 72, 77, 71, 72, 73, 74... 74! 74, we have a winner! After 36 ballots have been taken, it has been decided that Thomas Jefferson will be the next president of the United States of America, with Aaron Burr as vice president.
Hamilton.
In the end, Jefferson secured the presidency and served his term from 1801 to 1805 with Burr as his vice president. Burr was outraged, believing that Hamilton had manipulated the vote in Jefferson's favor. Nearing the end of his term as vice president, Burr ran for the governorship of New York, but lost. Again, he blamed Hamilton for besmirching him as a candidate. With all his built-up anger, he challenged Hamilton to a duel. Hamilton accepted, and the pair traveled to New Jersey, where the face-off took place on the morning of July 7, 1804, the same location where Alexander Hamilton's son had lost a duel and died.
It's time to duel!
Alexander Hamilton, you could never back down, you always had to speak your mind. The world will never be the same, Alexander. Yeah, I'm the damn genius that shot him. Thank you.
Burr's shot was fatal. But the shot, in a sense, also killed Burr, for it made him an outcast from his country's social and political life. Upon the completion of his vice presidency in 1805, Burr traveled down to a leased 40,000-acre area called the Bastrop Tract along Quachita River in Louisiana. At the time, the Spanish government owned Louisiana, and Aaron planned to lease this 40,000 acres of land from the Spanish government. He planned to grow a farmer-soldier hybrid army. That way, when the inevitable war with the Spanish came, Burr could lead his farmer army and claim as much land from the United States as he could possibly get his hands on. In 1807, Burr was brought to trial on charges of conspiracy and high misdemeanor. Chief of Justice John Marshall acquitted Burr on the treason charge, and eventually revoked his misdemeanor indictment, but the conspiracy scandal left Burr's political career in ruins. Realizing that his political career was over, Burr fled America and its creditors. He spent the 4 years following his trial traveling throughout Europe, attempting unsuccessfully to garner support for revolutionizing Mexico and freeing the Spanish colonies. Admitting defeat in 1812, Burr returned to the United States. Utterly broke, he attempted to rebuild his law practice in New York under the surname Edwards. By 1830, he had grown dependent on his friend's financial support. 3 years later, Burr married a wealthy widow who was 19 years younger than him, named Eliza Jumel. The marriage didn't last, and following the divorce, Burr suffered multiple strokes that left him partially paralyzed. He died under the care of his cousin on September 14, 1836, in the city of Port Richmond on Staten Island, New York. Today, Burr is primarily remembered as the man who killed Alexander Hamilton, and not as the third Vice President of the United States. After all, it is the deeds of the man that carry on his legend. In the case of Aaron Burr, his most significant accomplishments were in the poorest of taste.